We actually had, for the first time, a senior class that you would probably look at as a recruited senior class. And the majority of our players are now 20 years older. And that may not sound like a real marker that many would think has been significant. But for us, the maturity of our athletes, just the way that they're developing through the weight room, just their maturity in handling adversity, to the degree in which they accept hard work and come back the next day with great maturity and expecting to be challenged again. Those are some of the things as a coach that you really get excited and you kind of start looking for. We knew there'd be a point in time in our program where we would see some of the things that now resemble more of a mature full class. This will be the first year that we're at full scholarships, and so we're excited and ready to kick it off here come September 1.
Garrett, your thoughts on the upcoming season?
I'm just excited once again for another season. Just to build up from this summer, all the hard work we put in again, and just hopefully it can transfer to the field this year. Just really excited.
Terrance, your thoughts on the season?
This offseason has been great. Spring has been great, and summer we've been working our butts off to get ready for this upcoming season. And I just hope we work hard during this upcoming fall camp, and we're going to be ready and be prepared.
We do have microphones on the floor, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you a microphone. Please identify yourself and your news agency.
Coach, Robert Kelly, Texport Publications. Going into your third year in the Southland Conference, obviously you've got goals that you've wanted to accomplish this year. I know you've had them in the past. Have you continuing the goals you've done in the past? You got new ones or a combination of both?
Well, this is probably the best question and the most frequent question that you get when you start a football program is what are expectations? There's not a class, in my 25 years of coaching that led up to coming to HBU, there's nothing in those years where it prepares you as a coach really to answer those questions from the standpoint of a program starting from really no players to now, having a full team. I would say that last year we did not meet expectations. To win only one conference game in 2 years in our program, that's not expectation. Winning is the standard, and everything we do to prepare, you don't prepare, even with younger guys 2 years ago, prepare to lose. Everything you do is to prepare to be successful. And until we line up there and play great and find a way to win every ball game we play, that is what really is the product that defines, the center of our program. Along the way, there are probably early days some expectations that have to be realistic, when you have 18 and 19-year-old guys going against older guys. And we've spoken about that, to a degree in the past. But I expect our guys to compete in the conference. I'm not a predictor. I think that every football team in America can go 0-11 just as easily as they can go 11-0. What happens is most of us finish somewhere in between there. And it's going to come down to some of the expectations for how our guys handle adversity. We know that September 1 against Central Arkansas, we're facing one of the top several teams in our league, a team that has consistently been a playoff team. And we know that that'll be a day in which the progress that we've made as a program is going to be probably most revealed. And then we'll continue to work to improve through the season. But expectations are that we're competitive in this league. Every ball game we have a chance to compete and win. And I know that the guys that are left and right of me, there's never a day that we don't operate with that mindset in our program. And so that is expectation.
I'll go ahead and get my second one out of the way. Terrance and Garrett, what are you guys been here the whole time, 3 years. What do you look like as leaders? Coach, I know you consider them 2-year leaders. How do you think their influence will help these younger players coming up that are recruiting now, they're starting the first year, and the ones that have been with you for a while?
Ask me that? Okay. Well, I think leadership is one of the greatest challenges that you have in developing a program. You see it in programs who have great years. You know, maybe you're a quarterfinalist in the playoffs. You have 27 seniors, and all our coach will stand up here and talk about is youth and immaturity and what does leadership look like going forward, you know, because it is an unknown. That is probably the greatest challenge you have, is taking a guy who is more driven as an underclassman just to be successful and look at their film and have their coach grade them a winner on Sunday, and that be something that early on defines them as being a success story in your program. But that's not really good enough, right? When you're talking about building a program and having guys that challenge other players and build example and become the model of what a Husky looks like in our program, it takes some time and age for that to occur. I can tell you that when you look at Garrett and Terrance, to look at them in the weight room, their performance there would rival amazing few number of athletes that probably will play in our league this year. They are incredibly dedicated. Their strength and power is pretty amazing, and they make me feel pretty small up here. I think when you look at the example by which they work, you know, without complaining, all right, those are mature men. So I think having older guys that now you're getting guys in the program, and as we brought all of our freshmen in 3 weeks ago for summer school, it was just amazing to see how youthful, boyish they looked, if you will, compared to the older guys. For many of y'all that were here 2 years ago and Garrett stood up here, I'll be willing to bet that probably Garrett looks a little bit different 2 years now than what he did. I know his picture in the media guy sure looks different. But you know, age does produce leadership, and confidence produces leadership, and we're in the road in both areas.
Just like the work ethic, showing the younger guys how to work on the field, in the weight room, in the video room, just how to watch film and how to work everywhere and to constantly better themselves, not just to lay around and get fat because you already got your scholarship, but to actually better yourself to where you can translate onto the field where you can benefit the team and help get some wins. That's much how it is, and just kind of show them the way and how to do things once they get on campus.
Well, for me, my main goal when the freshmen come in is just to get them on the same page as the rest of the team and push them as they go along, because they might not have the same mindset as the entire team when they're in, but just keep pushing them, have the motivating them guys, and just getting them to be a true Husky, just like the guys that's been in the program. And we're going to keep building. When we're gone, those guys are the ones that's going to take the throne, and they're going to have to build on it, and they're going to have to make some of their own. So we just have to keep pushing them and stay behind them and make sure they be successful.
Russ from HBU. And Terrance, Coach Shealy's talked about it from the beginning that the offensive line is one of the hardest units of a football team to build. And what have you seen those guys in the summer that's going to help you to be better?
I want to go back to my sophomore year, offensive linemen. We weren't the biggest. We had a lot of offensive linemen that were hurt, but they have pushed through and they worked their butts off. And if you look from where they were last season to where they're at now, we have more linemen, and they've grown tremendously, and they're very strong, and they're going to have a very, very good push this upcoming season. And those guys work really hard for me, and I really give all my thanks to those guys.
Coach Lonnie King, I know this year you've added some guys with junior college experience to your roster, and if you will, talk about what kind of impact you expect them to have, what kind of contributions at various positions they may bring to the team this year.
Sure. You know, we have been fortunate in one hand that we haven't lost any offensive linemen yet, you know, in terms of just, you know, because they came in as freshmen. Very, very few JCs. We're not a JC program. We're a high school program and building our program that way. However, we have looked on occasion to see where there's a fit, both be it a need or the type of kid. Obviously, the academic requirements getting to HBU are challenging. It takes a smart kid not only get to HBU, but be able to graduate from HBU. So you got to be able to find the academic piece to fit. And then we're a place where we're going to recruit and evaluate character, and so those things. So when you look at guys in your program, whether it comes from high school to JC, you're going to find and identify fits. And so we feel like, and I will say this, sometimes when you're in high school, you've got a greater opportunity to take a snapshot into a kid's life because you spend so much more time with the family than the high school coach. Sometimes with JC kids, it's harder to get that same snapshot. So for us, those are some of the reasons and some of the mindset that we have kind of looked at in terms of. But however, when we do find some guys we feel like are fits, then we've really tried to identify the need. To answer your question more specifically, we really did feel like we needed to bring in more offensive linemen. And so we signed 4 this year. 2 of them are high school guys. The girth, the size, there's some pretty good full-grown men that came into us. And then we signed 2 JC guys. We have a center on campus, Andrew Santiago, out of Mount San Jacinto out there in the Inland Empire in California. And Drew's a center, very athletic guy, strong guy in the weight room. We kind of feel like he's kind of one of those instant guys that gives you a 1AA caliber lineman that's already, a more finished product athletically and physically. And they signed a big offensive tackle, Andrew Kirby, out of Tyler Junior College. That's a massive guy, very athletic, and so we feel like we've done some things there. We brought in tight end Buddy Tuamasanga. We recruited. He committed to us. Visited Texas State the week before in December. Committed to Texas State. Signed with them. The staff change occurred there. It wasn't a fit with the new staff. Got the release from the national letter, and we still were able to get him in time. But Buddy's a 6'5", 260-pound Samoan, and really athletic young man. And so we've been able to do some things to help us in that area. Brought in a place kicker, Alec Chatwood from College of the Canyon out in the San Fernando Valley. And he is a strong-legged guy. We lost what we thought was a very fine kicker, and so we felt like we've replaced him with a guy who not only kick off, but on the field goal is a high-end guy. He's a 4-for-3 guy, was kind of been courted by some of the Pac-12 schools as a walk-on, which out West Coast, that's really a compliment for most guys because those schools are so hard to get into. To get into UCLA or Cal as a preferred walk-on, it's actually a pretty tough recruiting environment with those guys, and then to sit there and say, but come sweat in Houston, Texas. And but he's a strong-legged guy. We feel like he'll really help us a lot. Defensively, we brought in a transfer, Chris Hardeman. Some guys may know him. He was a high-end recruited guy out of Houston, committed to LSU right before sign date. Signed with Oklahoma State, played there 2 years, was their nickelback, played special teams mostly as a sophomore. He's an already accomplished player and wanted to return back to Houston. So we feel like we've brought in a defensive back, a corner, that not a JC guy, but certainly a guy who has 2 years left that we feel like will help us and quite a bit up front. And so those are some of the older guys that we brought in, and we feel like, in an effort to continue to grow our roster, some areas a little bit quicker.
Coach, last season among the incoming programs, obviously Incarnate Word took a step up. You're still waiting to take that step, and I guess obviously the timelines are different because they had the Division II experience before coming into this. So, I guess what do you have to do to accelerate your own timeline to get to that competitive and successful level?
Well, some things we talked about, that the greatest challenge is developing interior linemen. It has always been, and you can kind of look at the Texans or the Saints right now, and I promise you, more conversations going on about how good are we up front. It is the greatest challenge you have. And so when you do it the high school route, you are going to be behind the curve in terms of what a full-grown man looks like versus a developing lineman. And so we are getting closer to where our guys can look more like it looks like to be a Division I lineman. And it's a product of the weight room and the fact that they're shaving now. And I think confidence has such a key. I think when you look at the early part, and to use Incarnate Word, early part of the season, they were still probably an unknown, but they had a couple wins in the conference that gained some confidence for them as a football team, is obvious. And, my conversations there with Larry. And when you have some of those wins that maybe in themselves don't look on the outside insignificant, they become significant to the kids in that locker room. and to the coaches. And so I think that's what we're in search of. We're in search of an early significant win. I know that we're recruiting guys left and right of me here. Had multiple Southland offers. Terrance, was recruited by much of the Mountain West and, Conference USA and chose to stay in Houston. So I know that's the consistent, we're recruiting the same guys that we're playing in our conference. And it's not magic, it's maturity. And so getting that big win, I think, early on, and certainly we need for it to occur. We'd love for it to occur September 1. But our month of September, with not only Central and Abilene and Sam, that's a good hefty September.
I see Morrell, Port Arthur News. Coach, how exciting is it to be in a conference where, you have a good number of football teams that hadn't even been in existence 10 years ago. You guys are one of them. And then there's Lamar. Well, Lamar restarted football, and then there's Incarnate Word. What challenges, what similarities, what things do you guys, within those programs kind of share as far as, building up a football program?
Yeah.
Like you guys.
I can tell you one of the greatest challenges. HBU's got a great brand. Academically, HBU doesn't take any steps back to very many schools in the state of Texas, by reputation. And so it's easy to sell the brand. I think when you look at the success that historically HBU's had in baseball and basketball, you've got a school that already knows what achievement looks like. And we've already seen some early success in those programs in their 3 years in the league. And so, some of the mystery about the brand of HBU, it's not a mystery. But what's great is, and I'll be frank, the biggest selling point we have in recruiting is the Southland Conference. When you go into a junior college in LA or go into a junior college in San Diego and you say the Southland Conference, those kids know exactly who you're talking about. And their perception of it is further from home, but it's where the best athletes that play 1AA. If you don't play, and I apologize for using the 1AA, just I'm an old school guy, but if you don't get a chance to go to an FBS school, then the Southland is one of those leagues, that puts you in a position where you're going to play against really good players, be evaluated against a lot of good players, and historically look at the number of guys that have made it onto professional ball out of the league. And so it's got a huge selling point. And so you sell those things, and then from there, frankly, it's just about relationships, right? Relationships build culture. Culture builds players.
Coach, Garrett's the fourth linebacker to be up there today. He might tell you, I guess, linebackers are well-spoken or good-looking or something, but is that maybe the deepest position in this league, you think? Or if not, what league-wide, what position would you consider the deepest?
Yeah, that's a great question, and because it actually centers around discussions that we have back at the office, which obviously you're well-schooled in understanding the culture of not only last year's. I think you look at the linebackers in the league last year, great players, and a lot of them are upperclassmen, and it probably actually made way a little bit for some of the all-conference teams early on to be able to pull in some guys that were rising guys this year. But it is a very athletic league. I think this part of the country, you look at the Mississippi JCs, the great athletes in the state of Louisiana, the great players in Texas. You got, Arkansas is, DNA, that water in Arkansas is great. And, you take in a lot of other areas that this area has historically had, and you see that great mid-skill guy really thrives. And, so the running back, linebacker kind of guy, the tight end, there's a pretty good abundance in those guys in recruiting. Great ones, not necessarily, but really, really good ones. And I think, last year, to look at Garrett, and I think Garrett was probably leading the league in tackles up until maybe the last game or two. And, it's not necessarily about keeping stats, but, certainly he had an accomplished year. And you look at his tape, and you see him making plays against good people in our league in space, and you see a good young linebacker coming. I think that, obviously, at the end of the year, we'll see. But I'll be surprised. I'll be disappointed if Garrett's not a first-team all-conference. How about that? Second team's not good enough.
No, sir.
Well, we won't be the best.
And Garrett, while we're talking about linebackers and we know about your tackle totals, you finished second in the league last year. In the last game of the season against the Incarnate Word, you set the school record in tackles. You had double-digit tackle games all leading up to the end of the season. Did you feel some momentum at the end of the season that you're going to carry over this year? And I know with you, it's not so much about those numbers, but what have you improved in the offseason so it's not just about getting to the football and just making tackles, but what else have you elevated since then?
It was great to finish on such a high note with 18 tackles, and that's just great momentum to go into next season, trying to keep that hot hand and playing good. But this offseason, I really focused on my hips, being able to bend around corners, being able to flip hips in coverage and whatnot. Then also just my footwork, trying to get in and out of tackles more efficiently to get to the ball quicker. And that's what I've been more focusing on this whole summer and like spring before summer to, I guess, help get to the ball more and get more tackles. And that's what I've been really focusing on.
It is kind of interesting. I know the question was asked to Garrett, but when Garrett came in as a freshman, were we about 239, 240, and strong as an ox. And I don't know what Garrett weighs today. Where are you?
238.
238, and his numbers in the weight room have just crushed. And so his lean mass is incredible. And I don't know if he's at single-digit body fat, but it's a pretty refined guy. And so I'll brag on this guy. He's actually draws me to conviction over what I eat. What goes in's good.
It's abs now, Coach.
Yeah. We'll keep his shirt on, but it would be impressive.